Girl, be you. That's all that you can do. Girl, be you. That's all that you can do. Don't be nobody else. Don't be nobody else. Don't be nobody else. Don't be nobody else. Girl, you should be yourself. Don't be nobody else. Don't be nobody else. Don't be nobody else. Girl, be you. That's all that you can do. Girl, be you.
Hey girl, and welcome back to the Girl Be You podcast. I am Gigi, your host. And here at this podcast, we are creating a space for you to be your most authentic self in a world that is full of chaos. Thank you so much, and welcome back to this week's episode. I hope that you have had some time to catch up on our previous episodes. I'm very, very excited and very proud of the community that we are building here at this podcast and the Girl Be You world. Let's jump right into this week's episode of Girl, Let's Tell Your Story. I found this picture at my mom's house, going through some old photos, and I have to tell you, this is probably one of my favorite pictures from my childhood. This one is absolutely my favorite one because this picture sums up my childhood and it sums up who I thought I shouldn't be. But then now, as an adult in my 40s, I am learning this is exactly who I am. And this picture just sparks so much for me because it is a constant reminder being my authentic self for many, many years. And I share this a lot on this podcast because my journey of being Girl Be You is something that I always want to tell. It is something that I always want to share because that may be something that you need to hear if you listen to this podcast, if you're reading a blog, if you happen to see me, or whatever the case may be. I am always wanting you, especially, and my journey myself has always been to be my most authentic self. And sometimes our most authentic selves is the person that we were as a little girl. And so when I see this picture, it cracks me up because who was I? Who was I, this little girl? I had to be no more than like maybe 2, 3 on this phone. Only God knows who I was talking to. I'm sure I was probably talking to someone. This is who I was. My aunts always reference that even as a little girl, I was at the age of 2, I had the personality of a teenager. I never really did like kid things because I was always around adults. All of my parents' friends were like my aunts and my uncles, but more than that, they were like my friends because I was always looking for them and sitting with them and having dinner with them. And even at my grandmother's house, we used to have this living room table that all the adults would sit at the living room table and in the front room. And if you were not an adult, then you were told to go to the basement. And I don't really remember too many times that I was in the basement because I was always just like a little birdie sitting at my aunt and uncle's like feet trying to get all the good tea and like feed me, feed me. So that is who I was and that is who I became. Over the course of years, I had to learn what that meant and what that looked like. As you journey through your life and you go through being a teenager and you go through being an adult and, through your adult years, you're always trying to find this space, attempting to realize who you are. And that little girl inside me has always reminded me that I had something to say. I remember being like middle school, high school is where I started to realize me having something to say looked different and felt a whole lot different too. Like I didn't quite fit in, yet I always saw things differently. I didn't quite fit in, but I knew everybody. So I wasn't the popular kid, but I knew all the popular people. Carrying that role in my life always made me feel like I wasn't enough, but I knew that I always had something to say. I knew that I was different. I just didn't know how to live in that space of being different. Over the years, I still have something to say. There's something that I want to say. There's something about who I am that, again, doesn't necessarily fit in with everyone else. but there is something that I want to say. What I find interesting nowadays is that we truly, truly live in a society where, and I've been guilty of it, to have this desire to want to go viral, want to get into this box of doing the things that will make you go viral. But a couple months back, I realized and I made peace with the fact that while the world is full of influencers and content creators, that's just not my thing. Like, I don't align with the idea of being a content creator. I am not attempting to influence anyone to do anything. My life's goal and my life's work is to inspire you to be you, to inspire you to be your best self. Just like at the top of this episode, my goal is to inspire you to be your most authentic self. And while I don't align with being a content creator or an influencer, I realize that I'm more of a storyteller. I tell my personal story of me, my journey, the things that I've seen, the things that I do see to inspire you in the way to be okay with seeing things the way you see them and living the life the way you live it. And that is why I always say, girl, be you. The world is telling us to be so many other things. It's telling us to conform. It's telling us to do this. It's telling us to look like everybody, act like everybody. But I would like to just whisper in your ear and say, girl, be you. Whatever it is that you want to do, be you. And while I don't identify again as a content creator, influencer, I identify as a storyteller. I identify as somebody who wants to tell the story of being you. Like, what does you look like? What does that feel like? Because viral fades, authenticity lasts. Like, viral moments come and then they go, but being your authentic self is what lasts. I often think about moments that I would think like, man, I wish I can go viral. It didn't, my post didn't have a whole lot of likes, but then I always have to come back to, why do you want to go viral? Why is that the goal? Is it because of how loud the world is? Probably. That's probably the case. And so I always have to redirect, take a moment, reassess, and then get back to what's really true for me. You don't need the trendy things. You need to transform. You need to be transformed in your mind, in your heart, and that will lead to other people seeing how you live that will cause them to transform. I remember way back in the day when Zara first started becoming a thing. And my mom would always tell me, G, don't get trendy looks because trends will come and go. You want to get something that are statement pieces that will last, that can go throughout the times. And I remember having this red blazer from Zara. Oh my gosh, it was like my favorite blazer. Of course, I ended up having to give it away because, I got older and the body wasn't doing what it needed to do no more to get in that blazer. But I remember getting this particular blazer, and I always remember that blazer being such a statement, classy piece. And I had it for years. And it wasn't because it was trendy. I had it because it was a statement piece. It was made well. Back in the day, Zara was really doing their big one. But it was made well and it went with so many things. And one of the things that I always kind of reference, I go back to that thought about my mother saying, gee, don't get trendy looks. Get something that is a statement, classy piece. And so as I go through my own personal journey of Girl Be You, and I just want to pause to just say that Girl Be You is not just something we tell somebody when they're like in school. Girl, be yourself. Don't fall into peer pressure. Girl Be You is something that you can carry with you throughout your time in life because life's transitions will always be changing and causing you to reassess, reevaluate who you are and where you are. Because who I am, I've said this before, who I am at 40 is not who I was at 20. And so even at 40, I still have to remind myself, girl, be you. And it's not just the outward thing, that is an inward thing that I carry in my heart, because it is a constant reminder that I have to stay true to the story that I want to both live and the story that I want to tell, the story that I want to inspire others by. It's not carried by a trend, it's not carried by being viral. It is carried through me being my authentic self and telling my true, authentic story. I don't have a story to tell about how I grew up in certain areas. Listen, I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, okay? The western suburbs of Chicago. I lived in those suburbs for a very long time until I moved to the south side of Chicago. And when I moved to the south side of Chicago, there was different things that I had to learn. There were different survival skills that I had to have. That is my story. That my story is not that I grew up in the city or any of those things. I grew up in the suburbs. I'm a suburban girl, but I also lived on the south side for a very long time. My life looks like that story. So I always come from the place of like, yes, I did grow up in the suburbs, but I also lived on the south side. And yes, I have lived in different places and been in different situations because that's my story, right? And I think that that is the beauty of being your authentic self, is telling your story. What is your story? And I think I reference this a lot because we do see a lot of content creators. We do see a lot of influencers, and people are doing it. Maybe it's authentic. And then sometimes we can see that it's not so authentic, right? We can see that you're just doing it because it happens to be something that went viral for somebody else. And I always question why? Why do that? One, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to produce this podcast, to be self produced, to get over here and run my mouth, talk to myself. Because I want y'all to know there's nobody in this room. It is me talking, running my mouth, doing the things that I actually love doing, editing this content myself, and then posting it. That is a lot of work. So I only want to do the things that I enjoy doing. I'm not about to do something because I think that it's going to be cool or it's cool for somebody else. No, 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 no. I don't want to do that. And then the bigger issue is your story matters. The story that you share with the world, the story about you matters. And it matters for a lot of reasons, because there is someone out there that will understand your story. There is someone out there that will be inspired by your story. There is someone out there looking and wondering, is there somebody going through what I'm going through? That's why it's important that we show up. It is often very hard for me to show up, right? It's hard for me to show up because sometimes I just feel like, what am I doing? Why am I even doing this? I've been doing this for a long time, and I feel like things have not popped for me. Things have not gone the way that I have planned. But at the end of the day got to end. But also, I am reminded that I am telling this story. I am showing up because it matters. My story is my power, right? It is the power that I have of telling my viewpoint. It can't be duplicated. There is nobody in this world that can laugh the way that I laugh, talk the way that I talk, create the way that I create, or share the way I share. And that is the way you got to look at your life. That's the way you got to look at your story. And that's the way you got to look at you, girl. That's why you gotta always be reminded, girl, be you. You don't need to be anybody else. And you might not have millions of followers. But if your story touches somebody's heart, then that's the real impact. It reminds me to keep going when I see someone that's like, oh my gosh, I listen to your podcast. If it's one person, it's one person. That's what matters. And do I pray every day, God, take this podcast to people so that they can hear it, they can be inspired, their lives can be changed? Yes. But I'm not doing it for the followers. I'm doing it because honestly, truly, in my heart of hearts, I so enjoy doing this. I'm not a fashion girly. Listen, I'm really not. I just like a simple 1, 2, 3. That's it. There are some people who are absolutely fashionistas, and I think that that is great for them. But there is no honor in telling someone else's story. But you got to get clear about what your story is. What is your story? My story? Listen, I'm a girl that struggled with low self esteem all my life. It didn't click until I became an adult. And it really didn't double click until I turned 30. And for the past 10 years, I've literally been walking through the journey of realizing how dope I am, how amazing I am, and really getting comfortable with that and making no excuses and having no apologies for that. Someone is waiting to see themselves in your experience. I often talk about being a pastor's kid, and being a pastor's kid has been the most amazing, heartbreaking, enthralling, funny, captivating life to ever have. And, I'm still trying to figure out that way to tell that part of my story where I don't, um, not so much ruffle people's feathers, but also just tell the story from my perspective, from my lens. Tell the story in a way where people think that the people surrounding my story are the main character or they're terrible people or any of those things. I think that that is where I'm trying to find that sweet spot, right? But I also realize that me telling that perspective of being a pastor's kid and not, knowing what that even looks like, feels like when I was 8 years old, but navigating that for the past 30 years. And I know it's comical. And I always tell my mom and my dad, my husband, the family that, y'all are retired and so am I. I think that part of that too is realizing that that part of my story did shape and does shape how I see the world and who I am. You never know who is healing, who can grow, and believing again because I decided to speak up. You decided to speak up. Maybe there's a part of your story where you overcame addiction. Maybe there's a part of your story where you overcame, like me, low self esteem. Or maybe there's a part in your story where you're starting again. Whatever that part of your story is, somebody is waiting to hear it. And there is no reward in telling someone else's story. There is no reward in, trying to be something else or strictly trying to go viral because social media tells us to. I personally think that, social media is social media. It's a vehicle and it should never drive who you are as a person. I often have to remind myself, gee, we've been on here too long. Let's get on off. Let's go touch some grass. Let's go tell our story. So I think that, someone is waiting to hear your story. And when I look at this photo, I want to circle back to this picture of me as a little girl because it just cracks me up. Because when I think about that photo. And when I see that photo, I do get a little emotional because that photo reminds me of the freedom that I had. I had not a care in the world. When my grandmothers were living, they would always tell me, gee, you were the happiest baby ever. We loved you being around. And when I think about that and when I see those photos, it truly does make me emotional, but it also causes me to be reminded of the freedom that is within that photo. I didn't care about aesthetics. I didn't care about performing. I was just, I'm sure I was my best little self, my best little self, just talking and being a light. And all I cared about was the connection with my people. And the more I grew, I think the more I grew, even in this space, I'm getting back to those feelings that I don't want my life to be performative. I don't want my life to be a bunch of likes and viral moments. I just want to show up. I want to enjoy this life. I want to be the best that I can be. And along the way, I want to inspire somebody. That's it. That's all I want to do. I want to be able to do that and enjoy the things that I do. And I want to live in alignment with peace and being present, right? There's a lot of things that I picked up along the way from that little girl up through my teenage years, my adult years. There are a lot of things that I picked up that I probably didn't need, but there were probably some things that I needed to pick up so that I would learn to let go and realize that I never needed them to begin with. Being real versus being viral is the most amazing thing possible. So, of course, I have my takeaways before we get out of here. Your story is your power. Don't downplay what you have walked through because that is powerful. That is amazing. And it's someone else's roadmap to navigate their journey. Number two, authenticity outlives attention. Likes fade, child. I mean, the likes that I had from old videos, they have faded. And it doesn't even feel the same anymore. Real connection does not. When you connect in real life, when you connect with your purpose, when you connect with what you're supposed to be doing in your life, that will never fade because it keeps you going. It revitalizes you. And it is like air. It is like your next breath to be able to be connected to what you're supposed to be doing. And remember who you are before the noise. Remember who you are before the noise. Bring that little girl back. The one who isn't afraid to dream or speak up. Because girl, I'm out here trying to bring back that little girl. And the funny thing is that she never left. She was always, always, always there. Stop chasing being viral and start chasing peace. One of the greatest things that I have tapped into is having a life full of peace. That does not mean that the storm won't happen. But what it means is that I have so much peace and I'm getting to peace to realize that even if the storm does happen, I'm going to be okay. And the storm can't last forever. It will feel like it, but it can't last forever. The algorithm don't need you, baby. Your purpose does. Tap into your purpose and let go of the algorithm. Be seen for who you are, not for who you pretend to be. I gotta be honest, I pretended for a very long time. I did a whole lot of fake laughing and a whole lot of until I realized that it just did not feed me. It did not help me. It hurt me more than anything. And I had to be seen for who I was. What do I like? Not who I pretend to be. Being yourself is the most powerful story that you'll ever tell. You could tell a whole lot of stories, and telling your story might make some people uncomfortable. That's okay. As long as you tell your story in a way that is respectable, in a way that is powerful, in a way that gives you peace as you walk through that story. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, G_girlbeyou. Make sure that you visit the website, www.girlbeyou.com. And if you haven't already, follow me on Instagram for all the updates and join the newsletter on Substack. And you can join the newsletter by going to the website and signing up. Every Wednesday is a bonus read and every Friday is a girlfriend check-in. I hope that you will lean into telling your story, being your most authentic self, because someone needs you. Until next time, bye, y'all.
Girl, be you. That's all that you can do. Girl, be you. That's all that you can do. Don't be nobody else. Don't be nobody else. Don't be nobody else. Don't be nobody else. Girl, you should be yourself. Don't be nobody else. Don't be nobody else. Don't be nobody else. Girl, be you. That's all that you can do. Girl, be